Hey everyone, Dan here, sitting in my office in Worcester, Massachusetts. What you're about to see here is the raw, unedited video interview with Gaetano DiNardi, where he talks all about how SEO helped Saleshacker get acquired recently, how they grew traffic 426% with SEO. We go really in depth into their strategy, the details, working with guest writers, keyword research, all that stuff. There's a ton packed in this interview. This interview appeared officially on my Experts on the Wire podcast as episode 98, but I wanted to share this video version of the interview here, totally unedited for you, so you can consume this and watch Gaetano explain all of these awesome tactics and everything, and also take in the really lively and vibrant scenery behind us at Italy in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, I'm gonna hit play. Enjoy this interview. Ready?
Yeah. Should this espresso go right here?
Sure. Don't mind us, just doing a podcast recording.
We're just doing a recording.
You can say hi if you want. Gaetano, I want to jump right in because you have a really great growth success story in the work you've been doing at Saleshacker.
Yeah.
And a bit of an exciting new announcement. First place you're going to announce this, well, one of the first places you're going to announce something new that I'm going to get to a little bit later on the show, but I want to take it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
With you and your journey at Saleshacker.
Yeah.
First, I was realizing when I was prepping for this, I didn't even exactly know what Saleshacker was. I was like, is it SaaS? Do they have a product?
Yeah.
Is it a content site? So explain a little bit first about what Saleshacker is.
And it's funny you say that, Dan, because you're not the only one. And when I first took over the marketing, it was like, where do I start? How do I figure out what to do first? And one of the things that I realized was a lot of people had no idea what we are and what we do. Yeah. And a bigger problem than that was the homepage was very, very disorganized and messy. You couldn't immediately figure out what we were in 2 seconds by going to the homepage. So part of the strategy that I'll talk about later on is how we fix the homepage to kind of just let people know that, we do a lot of stuff, but here's what the core focuses are. So we have a section on our website now on the homepage that says, what is Saleshacker? ?
Yeah.
And then it explains exactly what it is that we do. So if I had to break it down into 3 core components, it would be sales education, which is sales training, online courses, and a library of curriculums that you can go as a sales professional or a demand generation marketer to learn how to get better at your craft. That's one area. The second area is the thought leadership, the content. That's the fuel that keeps people coming back. That's what people really care about a lot when they come to our site.
Yeah.
We did the hot jar thing, and you can see overwhelmingly that red dot target bullet on that blog link. So that's the number one thing that people care about on our site. And then the third kind of piece of it is the events. We do conferences in San Francisco, London, and New York, but now we're only doing it in San Francisco.
So if I could ask point and blank, what do you sell? How do you make money?
Yeah, so we make money by doing sponsored content. And that's the simple one-liner way to explain it. But, to really break it down more than that, we do lead generation for SaaS brands in sales and marketing tech. Mm-hmm. We do thought leadership also for CEOs, VPs of sales, VPs of marketing that are looking to position themselves as an expert in a certain subject matter. Mm-hmm. And then we also just help create excitement around maybe a company's product launch, a new sort of thing that they're coming out with. If they want to just do a very specialized thing, like promote an ebook to a specific segment of our database, we can help them do that as well.
And so do they pay you by piece of content or by a specific collaboration, or is there a recurring monthly payment? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, there's no recurring monthly. So usually it's project-based. So it's let's say we want to become an extension of their account-based marketing efforts. And they come to us and they say, hey, here's our top 200 target accounts. How do we reach these people? And then that's up to me to come up with a strategy that says, okay, hey, Marketo, for example, just throwing that name out there. Yeah. Here's what we can do to help you achieve, XYZ with this target user base that you're trying to come in contact with. So in a nutshell, that's how it works.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you get to Saleshacker. Now, just to give the audience some context, you first worked with Mike King at iPullRank, and then you came from Pipedrive, where you got some experience with that kind of sales realm there. Mm-hmm. And then you get to Saleshacker. Yeah. It's your first day, or your first week. who do you sit down with to hash out that initial strategy, and then what did that look like at the beginning?
Yeah, it was scary and fun at the same time. And like normally where I would ordinarily start is a website audit. Just do that, 10-mile deep dive into like all the skeletons on the site, do a content audit, figure out how to prioritize SEO, quick wins. But that usually takes time. Like audits, can take up to 2 weeks if you're really going to go deep. So while that was happening, concurrently, I was doing audience research. So the first thing I did was like, I figured out who's been on our list that like hasn't engaged, and more importantly, why.
And your email list, you mean?
And our email list, yeah, because that's like the currency of what we do. That's the bloodline. It's like my number one KPI, my North Star metric, if you want to call it that, was grow the email list and the quality of the list, and of course traffic.
Yeah.
So getting back to the strategy piece, it was finding out who on our list was not engaged and why, who on our list was engaged and why.
About how many people were on the list?
Oh, when I first took it over, it was like 25,000, but it was a lot of junk, man. That was the other one of the things I had to do earlier on, was like a massive like scrub.
And were there like people on the list that had signed up like years ago?
Oh man, yeah, just garbage data. So like one way that we could quickly figure out what's garbage and what's not is Clearbit. You can run your database through a batch enrich, and you can see like, all right, this is dirty data. This is fake email address, whatever.
So did you start with that 25,000 and that number ended up going down?
Oh yeah. That it started at 25,000. After the scrub, it went down to like probably 17,000. Wow. Yeah, so we lost like a good chunk of our email list from that. But it's not a big deal though. It's better to do that and have a clean list.
And if that could scare some people, right?
Totally.
Did that scare anybody in Saleshacker?
Oh my God, yeah.
They're like, what did you do? Our email list is
yeah. Like our CEO Max, he's like, all right, here's what you need to do, and he always gives like very very high targets. But like in our first week, he was like, how do we get a 300,000 person engaged list? I'm like, oh my God,
300,000.
Yeah,
wow.
We didn't quite make it there. We got to almost a third of that right now, but yeah, it definitely scared me. He's like, well, how do we go from 25,000 to 17,000? Now, how do we get to at least 100,000? I'm like, well, it's going to take time, because quality is more important than quantity.
Yeah. And we can get back to the list growth, but getting back to the initial strategy, so you cut back on the list.
Yeah.
When you sat down and looked at the Saleshacker content, as I understand, there were blog posts, webinars, like white papers, like a whole variety of content. Did you try to tackle that from all angles, or did you really try to focus in on like, let's clean up the blog first, or let's clean up like, what was your strategy there?
Yeah, absolutely blog. Let's clean that up, because here's the thing with webinars, you're not really going to get long tail traffic from webinars. Those sign up pages are like super thin, and maybe if you're really lucky, you'll rank for 5-10% of those webinars, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's never going to really drive significant growth. Even with the white papers, those all sat behind gated pages. So the real way to get people to sign up for stuff like that is through high traffic posts with those content upgrade injections through Sumo and all these kinds of tools that you could use to get content upgrades. So I started with the blog. The classic sort of go to SEMrush, see where those keywords are that are in, positions 4 through 10. Look at those URLs that are like high potential, but they're just poorly optimized. URL structure that just followed the headline of the post, like easy stuff. And just double down on that. And before we knew it, like we started seeing upticks really fast just from doing that.
Also, when you started, and this is a situation I'm running into with a client right now.
Yeah.
I'm entering into this, like, I picture it as like this train moving full speed ahead, and I'm jumping on as it's like, it's not stopping for me. And so the metaphor means that they literally have a content production schedule of 10 posts a week right now.
Oh.
And the challenge I find with that is I can't get them to slow down and pause to like really point them in a different direction. Like, get off the train entirely, right?
Yeah.
So when you joined, was that happening? Did you like put a pause to the content for a little while and take a step back and clean set? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, we just had to slow it down totally. We reduced our content cadence. Well, actually, here's another really scary thing. We were producing, before I joined, 5 posts a week, 1 per day, and even worse, 1 email per day. To like,
you're blasting it.
So blasting. So 1 email per day per post, 2 webinars a week. So there were people getting like 2-3 emails a day from us, and it's like, the churn was ridiculous. So even that in itself was massively difficult to tame. So in terms of the cadence, I'm like, all right, we got to first of all figure out, before above all else, like, who are the real experts? Because that's the other thing that your audience should know listening to this podcast. We don't have content writers. We're not like HubSpot where like somebody can go and research something and put a bunch of stuff together and it's going to rank because they have a 95 domain authority. We have legit practitioner-led content from real people, VPs of sales at all the different SaaS partners that we work with, and they give us free content because we're like this neutral, unbiased hub where people can go talk about their experiments and they're not going to push their products.
Yeah.
And the audience feels like, okay, I can trust this source because I know at the end of every single post there's not going to be like, hey, need an email software? Sign up for a trial or book a demo. It's
There's
like
no alternative motive.
There's no ulterior motive. Yeah, like even the CTAs on our site are very soft. It's like, sign up for the email list, check out a webinar. There's nothing that says like hard sell, and it's been another great reason why we've been able to amplify without too much, tension from the audience.
So when you were cleaning things up, did you actually delete old content? Did you redirect stuff?
Oh yeah.
Did you start at like X number of posts and cut it down to Y?
Yeah.
Get into the weeds. What was the actual cleanup process?
Okay. The cleanup process was, I got to shout out Mike King, a process that he taught me at iPoRank, where you do a really deep dive content audit. Like you literally do a crawl of the site, you categorize everything by topical bucket, and that led into the next thing, which was fixing the taxonomy of the WordPress site, which as you know from all your work, if you don't have those key buckets like clearly defined, it's a mess.
Yeah. You mean categories and tags?
Categories and tags, yeah. So the way that we set up the WordPress taxonomy was categories were based on topic and the tags were based on content type.
Right.
So you can sort and filter in the blog library based on topic or type. So you get how that works.
That's one thing I saw on your blog homepage that Saleshacker does really well, I think, is that ability to look through topically and the content type.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing a lot of, especially B2B publishers, struggle with. And actually I'm going to show that as an example to some clients as like a model.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you're getting things cleaned up, you're setting a strategy.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
So you get there and you know that you need to clean things up. But then thinking about moving forward, what was your thought process and what was the strategy you set moving forward? Were you thinking about publishing X amount of blog posts a week? Were you focused on search as the main channel? Thinking back to your initial 3 to 6 month strategy, what did that look like?
Okay, I think it was two core things. Anything that doesn't have winnable search traffic, low difficulty, good reward on investment, don't even bother with it. The second thing was, who are the experts in these things that we need to talk about on our blog? And because we serve sales operations, sales enablement, customer success, VPs of sales, outbound sales, it's you have to have enough love to spread around to all these different audiences, because if it's too heavy of one thing, it's all right, these guys are one trick pony, I'm done.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was balancing content quality, search winnability, and just expert high quality content above all the junk that was there before.
So let's dive a little into the process for identifying search topics. This is something that I can do in my sleep, but I'd love to get your perspective on it and what you did with Saleshacker, because as I understand, you grew from, let's tell listeners how traffic-wise, how it grew, and then we'll get into the specific SEO tactics.
Sure. So when I took it over, we were getting a pretty gruesome 19,000 organic visits a month.
Yep.
And what it is now is about 100,000 organic visits a month.
And that's in about a year or 18 months?
In about 16 months.
Okay. And again, I'm going to tease the listeners, and a little bit later on, we're going to talk about how those numbers helped with some exciting news that you have to share about Saleshacker.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's great growth.
Yeah.
What did you look for in a, let's talk about the topic, and then we'll talk about how to get writers to execute on that.
Sure.
But what were you looking for SEO topics?
Sure. So I think I did the hub and spoke approach really well. Like so I went into Ahrefs and I filtered by pages that were ranking highly that had high page authority, and that kind of gave me an insight to, okay, I know that this topical bucket for us is really strong.
So you entered Saleshacker in there.
Yeah.
And looked at where you rank highly.
Exactly. Yeah, I started from where we already have like good topical authority, because like if you want to build up, let's say, customer success as a topical bucket, and you have no ranking content on that, you don't really have links that point to any of your content that is in that bucket, you pretty much are building from the ground up, and it's going to take way longer to get that flywheel effect going.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, as we have sales development content that's crushing, it's like, okay, we can kind of go into adjacent topical buckets from sales development pretty easily.
Yeah.
So if we have sales email content that's ranking higher, cold email content, we already know we can shift over into cold calling and prospecting and all these outbound techniques, and then just kind of let it spiral from there.
Okay, so you strategically chose topics where you were already doing well.
Yes.
And then iterated on those.
Correct.
Now, specific to a topic, okay, so great. So you already have authority in like a broad topical area. When it came to choosing like between subtopic A or B or C, what did you look for?
Yes.
In those?
Specifically two things. How available are the top practitioners to produce this content for us? That's above all, because like my feeling is you can target keywords all day long, but if you don't have the most authoritative subject matter experts giving you that content, it's pretty worthless.
Yeah.
Especially with sales now, like the sales audience is the slickest, smartest, most on-edge audience. Like you can't bullshit your way through with these people.
Yeah.
Like they can sniff out, fluffiness from a mile away. So if you're not delivering it with a hit, you're done.
Right.
So that was like number one. And then I think number two, the main keyword metric that I looked at was keyword difficulty. Ahrefs keyword difficulty score. Yeah.
So you found that to be, because I actually was looking at that the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I entered something that I knew was definitely not a 0, and it showed 0 for a few of them.
Yeah.
So do you find that it's sometimes a little off, or maybe
Totally.
there's no metric share?
Totally. So this might sound weird, but like we are customers of SEMrush, Moz, and Ahrefs, because as you know, they have different data sources. Their crawlers work differently, and when it comes to like link analysis, keyword comparison, I like to get the full spectrum. And there's plenty of articles and resources out there that compare the accuracy of Moz to SEMrush to Ahrefs, and I do think you need to kind of step back and see that full lens of data to get the best results.
What about a manual SERP review though? Because I find I can look at the keyword difficulty in any of those tools.
Yeah.
But then I go to the search results and I'm like, wait a second, that's way off. Like everything ranking here is like domain authority 80 or higher.
Totally.
Or the converse. So was there a manual process as well to help vet those?
Oh yeah. We have a checklist that we follow, and one of the top checklist items is SERP analysis. Like, even if Moz says that this is a keyword difficulty of 20, which is very low on their spectrum, if you go into the SERP analysis and you see monsters in there like Salesforce, Gartner, HubSpot, so on and so on and so on, it's like, stay away from that.
Right.
Or if it's content types that you can't produce well, like if it's all tutorial stuff with videos all ranking, and you know you have no propensity to create video content, there's no point in going after that keyword. No point.
So I think you have a list of your like top posts.
Yeah.
I'd love if you could share one or two of those, and maybe we could talk a little bit about why those particular posts may have been successful, or what the keyword target was, or whatnot. So what's your top post driving traffic?
Yeah, so we have one post that gets 11% of our overall traffic.
Wow.
Yeah, one post.
And which post is that?
It's best sales books.
Best sales books.
Best sales books, yeah.
And so obviously that must rank for best sales books.
It does. It ranks number one for best sales books.
And were you a part of? You were on the team when they created that content?
I was not on the team.
No.
I was not on the team. And it wasn't ranking number one at the time that I took it over.
Yeah.
But I saw that it was in the top 10. I saw that it was very beefy, very meaty content, but there were a number of things that needed to be fixed. Number one, metadata. Straight up. And the funny thing with list posts, I'm sure you've seen this, let's say HubSpot has 30 or 25 sales books that every salesperson needs to read, whatever. if you have an article that has like a list of sales books, but you don't put a number in that metadata, it's probably not going to rank as well.
When you say metadata, like which one specifically?
Title tag.
Yeah.
We're talking about title tag.
Okay.
Even URL structure was a big deal. So like, simply what we did to fix this was buzzword, number, and add in 2018 to the title tag.
In the title.
Yeah.
That's it. Did you update the list?
Oh yeah, we updated the list as well. So we updated the list. We also added internal jump links to each book in the list.
Right.
So each book in the list has a paragraph or two describing the book, a picture of the book, where you can get it, about the author. It has like a lot of, informative stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem with a massive list like that is you can't just stay at the top and see what you want to read. You got to scroll all the way to the bottom to figure it out.
Right.
So we added the internal anchor jump links, so you can see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way down, and then just click the internal anchor link to the section that you want to see.
Yeah.
And even with that, we were able to see like tremendous results.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so what's a post maybe that you were involved with from the beginning that's doing really well on Saleshacker?
Yeah. Best sales tools.
Okay, best sales tools.
Best sales tools. Yeah.
I'm laughing a little because I have a client that maybe we're going to compete with you on this topic. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so what was your approach there from a brand new piece of content that's now doing really well in search for you?
Yeah. Honestly, there was no rocket science behind it. It was, let's do a SERP analysis. We know that we can rank strongly in this topic. Let's do a SERP analysis to see what's there. Everything looked pretty weak. We already know that best sales books formula works. Let's emulate that. And it ranked within like 2 days.
How do you differentiate yourself, right? Because to me, this search is almost a commodity, and there's probably dozens or hundreds of other people that have written about that topic.
Yeah.
Best sales tools.
Yeah.
I mean, you even have software review websites like Software Advice and
G2
Capterra,
Crowd
right?
and Capterra, yeah.
So how do you stand out and be different and add value to some of those posts that might already exist?
Yeah. So I look at what's missing in those posts that are out there and what we can add. So like, for example, we did something very easy. We added a video of Max, who knows a lot about these tools. He's very credible on this subject. We injected a video into that post in the beginning so that you can get context, you can know how to actually use these tools, because what all these sites do is they just throw a shitload of tools at you and they're like, hey, good luck figuring out how to use them. With us, it's like, if you need to do outbound prospecting, we've seen a lot of good success with people using Outreach, with people using SalesLoft. If you need to scrape email addresses from LinkedIn, you could try LeadIQ, all these different things. So it's like, we actually apply some practical advice behind what we're sharing, and not just like, here's a huge list of tools, have fun.
Yeah. Just to give my analysis on what you've done there.
Yeah.
A tool is like, great. A list of tools is like, okay, here's a list of like, you can have a hammer or a screwdriver or whatever. But you're in the mindset of your customer and trying to think of what they want. And a tool is a means to something they want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like what you've done is not only just given them a list of tools, but told them how they can actually accomplish what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like one of my favorite posts in the SEO world is Brian Dean's ultimate list of SEO tools. He lets you slice it and dice it any way you want, but then he also gives you like practical advice on how these tools can be used to be successful. And I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of that stuff too.
So let's talk about the writers now.
Yeah.
As I understand with Saleshacker, the model is most of your content is community contributed.
Oh yeah.
So do you have a rough idea of the percentage? Is it like 90-10 or 80-20?
Like 90-10. Yeah, every once in a while I'll put a post out. Every once in a while Max will put a post out. But for the most part, it's 90-10.
And how are you finding these so-called expert writers, and what is your vetting process? Let's start there, and then I want to talk a little bit about how you actually get them to stay focused on creating the best content.
Yeah.
But how do you actually find the writers to be doing?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, that's what makes the magic of Saleshacker. You don't have to be some grandiose influencer. You don't have to be Neil Patel. You don't have to be like the CMO of Marketo. You could be a first-year account executive talking about your struggles, because that's the shit that people care about. Like, that stuff that people say, wow, like, that's so real. I love that. And it just explodes. And that's like kind of our process. Like, we don't necessarily sought after the biggest and baddest influencers in the land. we let anybody take a shot, but what's special about it is we coach everyone through the process.
Right.
We say, look, here's some things you should say in this article that are going to make you be successful. Here's what people want to know. And of course, that all goes back to like, we know we're going to target a keyword with this too.
Yeah.
So as this is happening, we like coach them through the process. We think about the keywords we're going to target with this. We do the semantic analysis of like all those LSI keywords you want to throw in there. But really all that is like, it's like normal stuff. Like if you're searching for how to stay motivated as an account executive, you would want to know things like what happens when you get fired, what happens when you're tired, what happens when this, when that. So it's like we just kind of take it like from a more of a human approach versus like a keyword approach.
One of the biggest challenges I find when I'm working with clients that have writers or are taking guest writers, and I'm sort of the SEO director in that case, is getting the writers to stay on topic and stay focused on the topic that I know will deliver search results. Because sometimes you can give a writer a topic and they take it and it goes like even 10% off course, 20% off course, then it totally doesn't target that keyword topic anymore. So how do you keep writers focused on the topic that you want them to execute on?
We show them examples of other content that's out there that they should follow, but not copy. But they should be aware of like, look, this is the formula that people want. This is what works. That's number one. Number two, we tell them, look, we have full editorial control over this. So even if you send us something that's, you know, how you envisioned it and close to your heart and personal, that's great. We're going to keep your personal touch in there, but we reserve every right to move paragraph D to paragraph A because that's what makes more sense for what searchers want.
What if you get something back and you're just like, this completely has to be rewritten? Or like, do you give things back and say start over?
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot, because sometimes what they do is they just like, and this is very typical in sales especially, is they just ramble. They brain dump all over you, and they're like, okay, how's this? And I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like, this is what you have to do, and then we send it back to them.
What do you look for in, you mentioned a little bit, but just going a little bit deeper. I have something in my head. So on another podcast I listened to, you mentioned you keep a big database of all the potential writers. So tell us a little bit about that database, because I thought that was really fascinating, because I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is an asset you've built up over time, and now you can just dip into that pool of potential writers. So I'd love for you to describe what this database is I'm talking about.
Yeah, so we have something called a contributor group or a contributor program. And the reason why we needed this was because we needed to quickly fill positions in our big spectacular events that we do. So like a virtual conference or a very high profile webinar or something, and it's like, oh my God, we need somebody to talk about sales enablement, but we have no one. Scramble on LinkedIn, and it's like, oh, it takes too much time. So we're like, why don't we just start keeping track of everybody that writes with us? And then let's create a link on our About page that says if you want to apply to become part of our contributor group, you can do that. And then through a survey, it sort of self-segments them based on their role, their expertise, their seniority level, links to things that they may have done in the past in terms of like speaking or expert blog posts that they may have written or whatever the case have you. And we use that to kind of keep dipping back into our pool of contributors so that we're not scrambling every time we need to do something.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I want to ask you a little bit about attribution. And because you can grow traffic, like anybody could grow traffic with somewhat irrelevant topics or blog posts or whatever.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of top of funnel awareness traffic. There's bottom of funnel traffic. Some people, some clients of mine could care less about awareness traffic. And to them, that growth is meaningless. So how are you attributing success from that traffic growth? Are you using goal conversions, or what are you doing there?
So we attribute email signups as our goal conversion, and that's by form or by source. So we have a couple of capture points on our site. The primary one that gets like the most signups is the homepage above the fold CTA. And the second most popular one is content upgrades within high traffic posts. So for example, that best sales books one, we give away a free digital copy of Max's hacking sales book. And that's like one of our top, it is our top actually, besides the homepage CTA, the top email converting sign up source.
Now when you're doing those content upgrades, pushback I get a lot is I'll tell clients, you're much better off one by one, custom creating a call to action natively in each post rather than just slapping up a pop-up.
Oh, that never works.
Yeah.
That never works.
So is this what you're doing? Are you post by post manually creating a custom call to action?
Absolutely. Because it's the only way you're going to get relevant conversions to work. Like, the only one that I would say wasn't crafted that way was an Excel templates post, but it was just a massive list of templates. So there was really nothing to inject in there because it was just, template, and it ranks really high. But the beauty about that one, the little trick, we don't force people to give up their email address for every template they want to individually download. We give all the templates away for free. No gated nothing. The psychology of it, though, is if you want the bundle, all of them in one shot, just drop your email address in there if you want the bundle. But we don't force you to give up your information. And that's why that one was like 20% conversion rate on traffic visit for that one.
So we've talked about the growth a bit. That's been awesome. Besides search, I understand LinkedIn's been a big channel for you.
Totally.
You're chatting about that a little bit. You talked about that on the other podcast. What's been working well on LinkedIn, and is it actually driving traffic? Because as we all know, like, you can get vanity metrics, shares, impressions.
Yeah, it means nothing.
But is it actually driving traffic back to the site that you're seeing results?
Absolutely. So aside from driving traffic back to the site, the other thing that it does is it creates amazing pipeline for our sponsored content revenue model. So we do a really good job of creating hype and excitement on LinkedIn around very tactical posts. So for example, we had like one of the top sales influencers do a SaaS metrics guide, like a 5,000 word beast of a guide, and then we share key snippets of that guide.
I hit my half hour limit. Continue.
All right, so back to where I was. Okay, so we did the SaaS metrics post on LinkedIn. Of course, you can't just share an article on LinkedIn. It goes nowhere. Everybody knows that. I think everybody knows that. If you share a link just natively on LinkedIn, it does nothing for you because they don't want you to leave the platform. They want to drive up engagement and all that. So what you have to do is you have to take that post, extract like a couple of key value points that you can put together in a nicely well scripted story, drop the link in the first comment, but you have to UTM tag that link because that's how you know where the traffic came from. Or you could just look at your referral traffic report in Google Analytics, but then you won't be able to see the specific post that drove that traffic. So then that's how it all works. Like, okay, we got new visitor from LinkedIn, UTM tag the link, comes to the site, signs up to the email list, all the dots are connected. Boom, that's what we need. Yeah.
That's pretty smart because I do see a lot of people taking things except to that last step, which is actually tracking with the UTM.
Oh, that's the thing that you have to do. Otherwise, it's pointless,
And so, other than the blog, I know there's other content types. What else have you focused on? And I'm curious because I see a lot of companies doing webinars, doing white papers, and in my mind, half the time I kind of write them off because I'm sort of like, well, they're a lot of work. They don't always bring the return based upon that amount of work. So you're doing them, so they must be bringing some success. So let's talk about the webinars first. I was in fact a guest on one of your webinars.
Yeah, you were.
And I think they were like 300 people that signed up, or 2,000, or like it was a crazy amount of people.
Yours was one of the highest ever. It was 1,800.
Wow.
Yeah, the highest we ever had was 2,400.
Okay, so let's start there. How are you getting over 1,000 people to sign up for a webinar?
So, we just kind of hit it from every angle. Obviously, the email list drives the majority of signups, and we try our best to only send relevant offers to relevant people. So we have everybody tagged in our active campaign database based on an enrichment survey that they are prompted to fill out when they sign up to the email list. If we can't get them to fill out the survey, which I'll be honest with you, it's very hard to do, only about 10% of people do it. We use Clearbit database enrichment quarterly. So we do a batch enrich of our database quarterly on the folks that have chosen not to fill out the enrichment survey.
So does Clearbit take data they have and layer it onto your contacts so you get a better understanding of what their interests are?
Yeah, we have to do a little code ninja stuff to kind of get all the fields to align and everything, but we have a fantastic marketing automation specialist who helps us out with all that. But getting back to the webinars though, I think it's a good mix of like us doing promotion and then the people that we get on the webinars that typically have big audiences, even if not, they share it out, and like it just creates this sort of like amplification effect. We share on LinkedIn, we have a very big Twitter following, obviously the blog and all that. So
really the webinar attendance is because you're growing your audience, your community, and your brand.
Yes.
So you have more people to tell about the webinar.
Exactly.
What other content types are you doing that come to mind that have helped either with the growth or help business goals?
Sure. So the one thing I should also say about the webinars is that they kind of have like two conflicting goals. One of them is like we need email list growth, and webinars are fantastic for that. But on the flip side of it, if it's a sponsored webinar, we are getting paid to generate leads for company XYZ that's sponsoring that webinar. So a lot of times they might say, look, we don't really care about like this audience group, that audience group, this audience group. All we care about is like VPs of sales at companies that are above 500 employees that are hitting at least 50 million in revenue a year. So it's like, whoa, that significantly shrinks down the target base, but that's okay. We communicate to them that, look, it's going to be much more of a niche outcome. However, it's way more targeted. It's going to be aligned to your sales pipeline goals, and you're going to be able to, engage those people better.
Yeah. And also one thing I did want to speak to, back to there being sponsored content, is some of the blog content sponsored?
Yes.
So about how much, what percentage, and then how do you balance that as well? Because there must be some conflicts or friction points there too.
Oh, totally. The sponsored blog posts are the hardest thing to do because everybody is dying to talk about their product. And just because you're paying us can't mean that your content's going to suck or that you can just go ahead and dive into a product pitch. We have a very strict set of guidelines, no backlinks to product pages, no screenshots of products. Like, it has to be 95% like, what can I learn without using the tool at all? And then at the very end, if they're trying to push something, we might let it slide depending on how actionable the post was to begin with.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we have to throw in the red flag or the white towel or whatever you want to call it because like, at the end of the day, they just can't quite get it to a level that like a non-sponsored practitioner with expert knowledge would be able to get.
Right.
So we can't rank for everything. Not everything's going to be super 10x. Like we try to strive for that as much as possible. But with the sponsored blog content model, it could be challenging.
One thing I realized I want to ask about the blog growth, and we'll get back to the other stuff in just a second.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to ask you about outside promotion and, dare I say, quote-unquote link building. and it's not to insinuate or imply that you've done this, but I'm curious if you've done any quote-unquote link building or outside promotion, because my philosophy is I don't do much of that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I just post great content and see that it ranks well.
Totally.
But what has your approach been there, if any at all?
Yeah, so exactly what you just said. We focus on creating the best and baddest content out there, and you'd be amazed at how naturally and easily these things acquire links without any manual content outreach and manual, hey, will you link to us type stuff.
Yeah, so has there been any outside promotion at all of your content? So
Absolutely.
Once the content goes up, what happens?
Yeah.
Do you have a list of things that you do?
Yes. So we share it on all our social channels, of course. That's like the easiest low-hanging fruit. If it's something that we're trying to bring new leads into the funnel with, such as a webinar or an ebook, we will run targeted Facebook ads to that.
Okay.
But if it's just like a massive guide to SaaS metrics, for example, like we'll do the organic social posting, but Max and I will both do one of those specialized LinkedIn story posts, which generate lots of, excitement and chatter around the guide.
And for those of us not in the know, who is Max? I know you mentioned him.
Yeah, Max is a CEO of Saleshacker.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's pivot just quickly to that. It seems like Max is involved.
Oh,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to have a CEO that's involved in the marketing?
Oh, it's
content?
huge. It's huge. I mean, if you have a CEO who is, well, I'll give you some backstory on Max. He's written 2 books. He was one of the first hires at Udemy. He built out their sales process. He went on to Attorney Fee. They got acquired by LegalZoom. So he had tons of credibility before this even started, but he's got a massive network on LinkedIn. Like, he can post something in one day and it could get 100,000 views. Like that. He's actually had one post on LinkedIn that had 800,000.
Wow, impressions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest if somebody out there listening runs into a CEO or somebody that's like, oh, I don't have time to be on social media or whatever. I mean, what would you say to that person that might be trying to get somebody more involved?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough. Like, I would love to get your thoughts on this as well, but like my feeling is you have to have a CEO that's like at least willing to try. Like, if he's totally not with it, then you can't like force it, because people are gonna know that it's not authentic. It's just gonna fall off the rails. It's not gonna work. But if it's not your CEO, find somebody in your company that you can make the face.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we say to every SaaS partner that we work with. Like, especially for an unknown startup, we're like, guys, I know you're like a 20-person company right now, but who's going to be the face of all this?
Yeah.
Who's going to be someone that's like, oh, he's familiar, I keep seeing him or her? Like, who is that person going to be? You can't just have like random person X, random person Z. Like, it just, there's no familiarity with that.
And this is approaches of philosophy and something I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
That if you are, let's say, a SaaS company, market as if you're an individual.
Totally.
Market as if you're a celebrity. If you're e-commerce, market as if you're SaaS, or market as if you're B2B. So that's what I see working really well when I sit back and kind of pick apart and analyze what successful marketing is. It's the companies that are in one lane, but they pull stuff from other disciplines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the answer to your question would be, if there is not somebody that's the face of a company, create a mascot.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Moz, for example. They have a mascot.
Right.
You think of other, again, that's B2C. Cereal companies.
Yeah.
They have mascots.
Exactly.
Because they can't have a face of a company.
Now that you mention it, I don't know many SaaS companies that do have a mascot.
There should be more.
There should be more. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Maybe we could create an entire marketing
campaign around that. Yeah.
That does that.
Maybe make some money off of it too.
So let's get back to what I check the time there.
Yeah.
You touched upon brand a minute ago.
Yeah.
To me, and maybe just because I follow you, Gaetano, but Saleshacker seems like it's grown in brand awareness in the last year.
Totally.
How important do you think that is? And what do you think have been the main drivers behind Saleshacker becoming more of a known brand? And a stat I can pull out for you, I don't know if you've looked at this, but if you enter Saleshacker into AdWords, it gets 880 searches a month.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a lot more in your internal analytics, but
yes.
How important is that, and what have been the main drivers of that?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, one of the things I look at every single quarter, and maybe I should look at this more often, but I go to Search Console and I look at our branded impression and click-through quarter over quarter. And now with the Search Console giving you the far extended back data, you can see tremendous impression and click-through growth on branded terms. And you can even see things like Saleshacker Conference, Saleshacker Webinars. So people are not searching for like how to increase your revenue time from 3 months to earning to like a year or whatever. Like, they're searching for a Saleshacker webinar in search, and they're looking for a Saleshacker conference, and they're looking for a Saleshacker blog. So we can see that over time these branded terms are getting more impressions in search, more click-through in search, and it just goes to show that like the brand is increasing over time. But the one thing that I do feel is the sole driver behind this is quality of content and authenticity of content. Those two things have been the jet fuel to the marketing flywheel. Without that, we would have nothing.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I want to ask about 80-20.
Yeah.
Something else I've been thinking about a lot. I wrote about it years ago. I've always done it more subconsciously. I did a video on 80-20 lately. What do you think has been the 20% of activities that have led to 80% of your results? And when I say results, I mean basically traffic and these business metrics, the email signups that you look for. What have those 20% of actions been that have led to that? What comes to mind?
I think it goes back to what Rand Fishkin talks about a lot in terms of building that marketing flywheel. You got to get momentum going. So if you're distracted and you're trying too many things and you want to experiment with PPC, you want to experiment with answers marketing, Quora and all these sorts of things, and then you want to experiment with video, and then you want to experiment with this and that. It's like, it's too fragmented and it's too disjointed, and you're not going to be able to get into a rhythm of stuff. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's been building that organic inbound flywheel. It's been keyword research, super high quality content, distribution, links and authority from other sites, email list growth, serving the right content to the right audiences at the right time, getting people in conversations on social media. The whole social selling piece is like really big for us.
Yeah.
And then just lather, rinse, and repeat. And then, once you have that flywheel going and you've got that momentum, it's like now you can layer on things like growth hacking, or like HubSpot just put out, the guy from G2 Crowd, Ryan Bonici, is the CMO of G2 Crowd. He talks about why they decided to do an email signature tool for HubSpot, and it was one of their biggest, most successful campaigns ever. But they already had the flywheel in place.
Right.
Like you can't say like I want to do a growth hack when you don't have the basics down.
Right.
So you got to master the basics. You got to get that momentum, that flywheel going, and then you can start doing things like paid marketing and all this other stuff.
Yeah. One thing that came to mind for me is listening to one of your other interviews was how you built this content checklist for the writers. Because that's a touch point. Every single piece of content that goes out, as I understand, goes through this process.
Totally.
And to me, that jumped out as something that, like, how long did it take you to create that?
Yeah. It's been a work in progress over time. Like, I think the first thing that I did was I referred back to Rand's why good unique content needs to die. He drops a ton of gems in there, and I'm like, this is really it. Like, and
well, literally, what does that checklist look like? Is it just a piece of paper, or like virtual piece of paper with like things that you have to check off for each piece of content? Yeah,
believe it or not, it's a do's and don'ts list. It's so it's high level guidelines of things that like, first of all, we show topics and examples of content that have been highly successful already. Because that's like a big piece of it. You can't just say do's and don'ts without giving proper context. So we say, look, here's like 5 examples of our best performing posts ever.
Yeah.
Here's examples of our worst performing posts ever. Then simple do's and don'ts. Like if you, like, one question we get a lot is length. Yeah. How long should this be? How many words should this be? And it's like, if it comprehensively answers what people want, it doesn't matter if it's 500 words or 3,000 words. It's like, did this accurately and comprehensively answer what they want? Yeah,
it's like saying, like, how long should a movie be?
Exactly.
90 minutes?
There's
85 minutes?
Yeah, there's no telling. There's no telling. So, it was a bunch of that, and then...
so I'm curious about this don'ts list, though.
Yeah.
Because I think that's even more, not more, but just as important.
Oh, yeah.
What are some things on your don't do list?
Yeah, the biggest things on the don't do list are... don't just start free writing without an outline. Create that outline. Don't just start free writing without comparing to what is out there already. Don't go into product pitches, obviously. No backlinks to product pages, as we mentioned. Don't write in big blocky chunks of text. Write like you speak. And one thing we've been pushing writers to do more of lately too is like, let's get some video going. Let's do a video of you talking through the key takeaway points. Let's inject that into the article in the beginning, especially if they've never seen you or heard of you before. Adds a little bit of personality, personal touch, credibility as well.
Yeah.
And think backwards too. Like, think about what you want them to take away from this, and then figure out how you're going to explain it. Don't just ramble.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
So now I want to pivot to some exciting news that you have about Saleshacker.
Yeah.
This is one of the first places ever that you're sharing this, and I'm excited to be talking about it with you. But I'll tee it up by saying that Saleshacker is being acquired.
Correct.
Which is exciting news. Congratulations on that. So who is acquiring Saleshacker? And then I want to talk about how your organic growth has helped contribute to that.
Oh, totally. So we are getting acquired by Outreach.io, a sales prospecting and primarily outbound solution, but it covers a wide range of functions for their customers, particularly in sales. And I think we never knew when or how it was going to happen, but we did know that if we were, the strategy for this was, let's rank for all the stuff that we know that they can't rank for. Let's go after stuff that will be too difficult for them, or that they don't know how to execute on, or all this other stuff, like cold calling, for example, cold calling tips, anything with outbound.
So was the strategy from the beginning for Saleshacker to be acquired?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Hence the importance of list growth, quality of list, because these are all things that acquirers are going to care about. But one of the things that was so beneficial of building this organic inbound flywheel was before we got acquired, I had to do a competitive analysis. Where does Saleshacker stand in comparison to them, in comparison to their competitors?
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, it was just night and day. Our numbers far blew out them and their competitors. Like, we ranked for more valuable keywords than them and all their competitors combined.
Yeah. So, what is the acquisition going to look like? And then I want to dive into the SEO implications of that. Are you going to be a part of their website? Are you moving all the content in? Is Saleshacker still going to be on your own domain? How's that all going to unfold?
Yeah, I mean, these are all things that I've thought about a little bit. It's all still kind of new, but I mean, Saleshacker is still going to be a standalone brand.
Yep.
All of our content is still going to remain the same. In fact, this is going to be a better experience for our users because we don't have to do sponsored content anymore. Thank you, God. So that's like relief number one.
Yeah.
Relief number two is now we don't have to get like some boring like person that no one has heard of just because they're paying us. We can get like legit people, and we can just focus on providing value.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then how is that going to? What was the name of the company again?
Outreach.io. Yeah.
How is that going to help Outreach.io? Are you going to send referrals back to them?
Correct. What we're still trying to figure out is how to integrate the list that we have built, the traffic that we're getting to, help fuel their brand and
keep going.
Yeah. Ultimately, what we're still trying to figure out is like, how do we funnel all this traffic, all these leads to outreach in a way that's not going to be perverse to our audience? So we're still kind of hashing all that out, but right now I'm just thinking about quick wins. Like, for example, we're going to have to go through all of our blog content and remove every backlink that goes to a competitor, and we're going to have to give it to them. Yeah.
That's going to be a process.
It's going to be a process and a half. We have a lot of no-follow links to Outreach already that we'll have to make followed, of course. We will have to definitely do another round of content auditing, for sure. We're going to have to come up with an integration plan beyond that, like all those content upgrades that I was talking about earlier on. We're going to have to figure out how to get Outreach to produce high-quality content that we can inject into these high-traffic posts.
And when you talk to me about the idea for this interview, announcing this, at least one of the first places you're announcing it, you talked about how search traffic really helped make this acquisition possible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. For Outreach.io, was that like a big component of this deal that you've made, or how important was that to them?
It was massively important because we have two things that they don't have: community. So authority, credibility in the community. The conferences are going to ultimately become their customer conferences now. And the second piece of that is just the traffic and the inbound flywheel. They're a late stage company. They just got a Series D round. They're pushing for IPO. They've gotten this far with essentially very little marketing. Like, they have a tremendous product marketing program in place. But in terms of that inbound flywheel, like, they had nothing.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have all that, there's an audience alignment. We're ranking for all the keywords they want. I mean, it's really a no-brainer. Like, they're swooping up inbound marketing program in this acquisition. Like, this makes perfect sense for them. So I think I will also say that, like, if market conditions are right and you have all this stuff happening, it's a beautiful marriage.
So as we wrap things up, I want to ask you too, thinking ahead into the future, I want to ask you two questions. One, how are you thinking about your next strategy, right? Because to go from A to B is, like, what's the saying? You how you got here is not how you're going to get there, or whatever. I'm not very good at sayings, but I imagine your thought process is different now because you're at a different point. You're at a different place now.
Yeah.
So that'd be my first question. And then second, how are you thinking about, aside from growth, some things that I see sometimes is traffic can go up, but then it can go down. Right?
Yeah.
So how are you thinking about avoiding the dip or the plateau, and in general, what are the next steps?
Yeah, man, that's so tough. I think I'm still figuring that out, to be honest with you, and maybe you'll have some ideas for me, but like, I think we're going to try our best not to lose any momentum by continuing doing the things we've always been doing. That's not going to change. I think in terms of like next steps, it's gonna be like, how do I still manage the Saleshacker brand? Because I think I'm going to have to still be the general manager of Saleshacker, but I'm also going to have to figure out this demand generation piece for outreach, which they really haven't had nailed down yet.
Yeah.
So in some ways it feels like a blank slate, but in other ways it feels like I'm going to have to like be like a connector and figure out how I fit in, and just kind of learn the brand a little bit, learn the community, talk to some customers. I hate using this term, but figuring out the low-hanging fruit opportunities, as they all say. And I don't know, just kind of doing my best to take it day by day and show impact fast. But it's going to be a challenge, man. It's something I've never had to do before, so wish me luck.
Yeah, good luck. And I have one thought for you when it comes to that. Think about, you saw my 80-20 video, right?
Yes.
So my strategy would be take your top pieces of content and see how much traffic those are getting, monthly or annually. Then where do you have to level up to next? Like, what's going to be the keyword, or one-word keyword, or two-word keyword, or whatever, that's going to give you double the amount of traffic that your top post is getting right now.
Got it.
It might be sales, right? It might be like something huge that seems unattainable right now, but think about 1 year from now or 2 years from now. What I would do is put content structurally in place on the site to set that target, to hit that target in like a year or two, right? So like, get that ready now, so as you grow authority, this acquisition is going to help you grow authority. Set that up for like that 1 or 2 year window later on.
I love it, man. So if you were me, how would you balance like content strategy on their domain versus ours? Because that's another thing I'm going to have to figure out too. Like, should I just view Saleshacker as the inbound component and make them just where the customers go for like onboarding information, product, like all that stuff?
I probably would. I mean, my rule of thumb is like clear beats, confusing or clever or not clear any day. And so to me, just forget SEO. I'm just thinking about like what's clear for the consumer. Okay, Saleshacker is where I go for content. Everything. Blogs, articles, videos, webinars. Outreach.io, that's where we go for, like you said, all the other stuff.
That's how I was thinking of it, so thanks for validating.
No, absolutely. And I would highly think about, instead of just one-off articles, a new type of content type that's sort of a really high quality or developed category. I'll send you some examples.
Please do.
But so I had a client, I use this client all the time. The hearing aids client. This is a funny story, actually. You posted on LinkedIn about this, and you were like, oh my goodness, look at this site, they rank #1 for hearing aids. And like you pointed all this stuff, and that post you did on LinkedIn got tons of comments and visibility. And I saw that, and I wrote to you and I said, that was my client. That was like, we did that.
That's amazing.
So I would look at that example and think about how we built out a hub section of 20 pages, 30 pages, 50 pages around this core topic, rather than just one-off blog posts.
I agree.
So that's what I leave you with in that.
And that's been a challenge too, because like it's a double-edged sword when you have all these really good contributors. Like on one side of things, it's like, you're going to get one guy that's really good at talking about sales enablement, somebody that's really good about talking about sales operations, but then there tends to feel sometimes like a lack of consistency or a lack of hub or a lack of continuity. So it's going to be fun to try to figure out that balance.
So finally, my last suggestion is how much investment in YouTube have you made or are you going to be making?
A significant uptick. We viewed YouTube so far as like a repurposing hub. Like we put all of our webinar recordings there, videos from our contributors. We have it all organized nicely into playlists, but we haven't really like doubled down on it as of yet because we haven't had the time, resources, or money. But now that's all going to change.
That'd be my last tip too. To invest there too. I have one last technical SEO tip for you.
Please.
On your blog, you should lose the infinite scroll at the bottom or the JavaScript button.
That's another thing I'm going to look to do as well. Our #1 strat for resources has been a developer. or a really good developer. We have one, but we haven't been able to pay him like a full salary for what a full stack engineer gets, because he's a back end and front end guy.
Yeah.
And being a startup with only 10 employees and we're all remote, and it's like, our revenue really does depend on month to month. Like there's no recurring model with this. So like if we're not selling deals, like we're not earning, we're not eating. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's finally going to feel so great to be able to work with a video team, with an actual full-time developer.
Right.
And I don't know if you also noticed this, like there's a weird query string parameter thing going on in our blog where like if you click on webinars, you'll see equals question mark webinars, but it's still part of like the blog directory. Yeah. So that was like, a whole problem that was there before I took it over, but it's like we could never have the subfolder and the permalink structure because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good, speaking of eating, we're going to eat here in Italy in a moment.
Exactly.
A great sort of like cap to this whole thing is you just said you're only 10 people.
Only 10 people.
So you accomplished this with only 10 people.
Only 10 people.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. As we wrap things up, Gaetano, it's been great shooting this and recording this different episode of Experts on the Wire, episode 98, here on location in Boston. Tell everyone where they can find you personally online.
Yeah. You can go to my website, officialgaetano.com. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search me. You'll find me there. And that's basically it.
Awesome. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on Experts on the Wire.
Peace.
Okay.
All right, man. Good stuff.
And for anyone that's watching the extra video, this is what we were looking at.
Nice. All right, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
What did you think?
That's great stuff.
Yeah,
man.
a lot of good stuff in there.
I didn't realize you were only 10 people.